Good morning. We are the Dementia Action Alliance. The Dementia Action Alliance is a nonprofit organization creating a better society in which to live in with dementia. And I am Sandy Douglas. I am the vice chair of the Dementia Action Alliance Board of Trustees. And I am excited and delighted and honored to be here today with you all on this Giving Tuesday. Today, I'm going to be facilitating a conversation with people living with dementia, informally discussing their experience living with dementia and how they have chosen to live proactively and positively with it. So I'd like to introduce you to the group here today. Pauline Gordon is with us, Terry Montgomery, Lori Shearer, Chuck McClatchy, Brian Van Buren, Mark Timmons, and Mike Belleville. And we are coming to you live from our own homes via Zoom technology, and we are spread all over the United States. So we're happy to be here right on your computer screen from the West Coast and all the way to the East Coast and the Northeast. So welcome, and thank you to all the participants. And again, I'm delighted to help facilitate this conversation, but you're the ones we want to hear from. Just to start us off and give us just a grounding, when you were first diagnosed with dementia, what did the doctor say and how did it make you feel? And was there any way that message could have been relayed differently or better? Does anybody want to just start us off with that? Chuck, why don't you lead us off? Thank you.
Well, I had one of the probably typical, for most of us, I went through all the testing, the neuropsychological testing and the brain imaging and brain scan. And I walked into his office to get the results, and he kind of explained, what was happening a little bit. And he goes, literally, you need to go home and get your affairs in order. You have early onset Alzheimer's disease. And that was it. When you get some, that kind of devastating news and not a single option, it puts you in a place where you feel like you are the only one that's going through it, and that you're going to die very soon. And it just, all the fears. And then when you go home and you try to do a little bit of research on the internet about dementia, it gets worse. There is nothing that is positive on, when you're trying to do any kind of research on it. All of it's, cut and dry. You have, normally from this time to this time, you have to live from diagnosis to death, and it's just nothing. And I think if they would have just given us a little, even a small pamphlet of places you could go to get information, like, like DAA and some of the other groups around, and, information on support groups and things like this. But, I'm hopeful that it's changed now. But I know that my experience was not very good at all.
Thanks, Chuck. Sorry to hear that. Lori, you had an experience.
Yeah, the doctor, it was my 5th doctor because they kept shoving me to somebody else, not giving me a diagnosis. And he said, he looked at my husband. He said, get your affairs in order, spend as much time with her family as you possibly can. Come back in 6 months. Let's see how much she's progressed. I'm giving you 2 sets of medication. There's no proof that this is going to help at all, but the other you're going to need to control her behavior issues. That was it. There was no literature. There was no support, no encouragement, nothing. Basically go home and crawl up in a corner and die.
Pauline?
Yes, I was just going to add that I think when people are diagnosed, my doctor, at least, he didn't tell me anything. He just gave me the results. And really, I wish he had said something to me. He just actually, I remember when I first saw the neurologist, he just gave me another test in addition to the full testing I'd had, a mini test. And then he said, here are a couple of prescriptions. And that was it. That was all I got. I didn't get anything from him. So that was really discouraging. And I think what I would have liked were references, you know, where do I get more information? Where are support groups? Information along those lines.
Does anyone have an opinion about what could be done differently, and how might it have changed your experience? Lori?
Cindy, I'm going to equate that to when my mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer. They gave her 3 months to live. What they told her was, during that 3 months, do whatever she could, have fun, enjoy life, and just see what happens. Well, she ended up living 2 years and 6 months, not 3. And I think part of that was because of the constant encouragement and support. When she was diagnosed, they had a clergy there that called her. They had a social worker. They had a nurse who followed up. They gave her information. I wish the doctor had handed us a list of websites of people living with dementia, a list of Facebook groups you could get involved in, a DAA, and just give us some information so we know where to go. I think probably the first 3 weeks after I was diagnosed, I spent on the internet trying to find all these links and groups. If the doctors would give them to us, I mean, it's not going to cost them much money to print out a page of links. Boy, that would have been so helpful, and encourage us that just live the best you can instead of saying you're going to die.
Mark?
I guess I have to second what Laurie said. I remember after my diagnosis that all the advice I was given on a professional level was cautionary. I got to be careful when I go out in public so that I don't get lost, or, so I got to be careful if I drive. But nothing about, going out and enjoying life anymore. The underlying message was, life as you know it has ended, and you need to learn this new normalcy of, taking no chances and reducing your enjoyment and staying in your surroundings. So heck, I wound up, against all doctors and everyone else's advice, I drove myself across country. Said no, I'm going to have fun. If this is it, like they wanted me to believe, then I want to have fun.
Mike, your thoughts?
Yeah, the thing I like to tell, I say frequently, is I think that the number one prescription doctors should be giving for people when they give them a dementia diagnosis is social engagement. It's not a pill. Not that medication is not important. Yes, we need the medication and we want to take anything that could potentially help us. But social engagement is the number one thing that we need to be staying involved with. I can't overstate it enough. I mean, I believe if you asked everyone the same question, they would all give pretty much the same answer and talked about how they did that individually. It was just sad that we had to figure that out on our own.
So, Mike, in addition to social engagement, and this is just a question for anyone, what are some other important things that you might share with somebody who has just been diagnosed? Social engagement clearly is a big one, but
It is. I
others?
mean, I think everybody that's already talked has already touched on it. And that is that you can still live a meaningful, purposeful life. You can still you still have a voice, you still have something to say, and you can still contribute to society in a meaningful way. You don't have to be pushed to the back of the table, or put at the kids' table, so to speak, and still be a part of the conversation and when I say have a voice, I mean, we deserve and need to have a voice at the table on decisions that are being made about us, whether it's within our own family or whether it's being done on a state policy level or a federal policy level. Why some people or organizations are making these decisions and thinking that we're not capable of having it, being contributing to it is just mind-boggling. I don't know that they do that with many other diseases. Why are they doing it to us?
Right, right. Well, I think that's a good point. And there's a saying that I've heard and I used a bit in my professional life. If you are not at the table, you are probably on the menu. So I applaud all of you all for being at the table. I think it's critical. Mark, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, people need to realize that, we're not just capable of living, we're capable of living well. There, with some adjustments, in the right support, and, God knows we get that support with the DAA. There's nothing that can stop us from setting goals and reaching our goals and living our dreams. We still have a life to live, and like I said, we have a life to live well.
Chuck.
I think one thing too that people need to understand when they're diagnosed is don't stop doing what you love doing. You almost have to come up with the attitude of not, I can't do that, but I'm going to do this. Now, how can I? And it doesn't matter what it is, whatever gives you joy and you can go to and just get lost in it, keep doing it. If you have to modify kind of how you do it, then you just modify it, but you still do it. And don't let people tell you that, no, you can't do that, or you can't do this, or you can't do this. In your heart, you know what you can do, and you need to challenge yourself. People want to take us and put us in a little cocoon sometimes, and that's not what has to happen. We have to be out. We have to be socially engaged, enjoying life, understanding what our blessings are, and just don't let people tell you that you can't do something if down in your heart that you really want to do it.
Well, Terry, I know as I've just getting to know you and spend time with you, enjoying life seems to be how I would describe you. Would you care to share any insights on this?
At first, when you get the news, you have to digest it, but you only have so much time. And we're consistent in what our doctors tell us. Here's some medication, take it for a year, 2 years. It may work, it may not work. And go to your personnel office and see what you can do about that and all of this. And you have this assumption that you're going to die within 12 months. You're going to die within 2 years. That's your mindset. So you either could just be sober and just like, okay, whatever, or you could get busy, find organizations that you can volunteer at, start having people that you want to visit, do things that you never did before, get out there, start talking to people, talking about the disease, let them know about it and become an advocate of it, but be happy. Because if someone's telling you you're gonna die, oh no, I'm not. Oh no, not yet. You don't control that. The man upstairs does that. So you just have to, since they're telling you that you are declining cognitively, you might as well act that way. Okay, that means you take the ropes off we're free to just do whatever we want to do. And each year we get a little bit more loose with what we want to do. I'm just saying.
Good. No, that's great. Well, this is thought-provoking. Everyone has had different experiences with an undertow of similarities, but you all are living with dementia. How does that currently, how does that impact your day-to-day life? What challenges do you have because of that you're currently experiencing because of your dementia? Pauline?
I have a lot of challenges. I can no longer drive. I had a severe car accident crossing the center line, which is I've heard a frequent occurrence with when people have dementia. And so I no longer drive. I can't cook because I leave things on the stove. My short-term memory is horrible. My math is difficult. Reading is difficult. Movies are difficult because of all my memory issues. But there are a lot of things I still can do. I love to travel with my husband. We take a lot of road trips, and we used to fly, but maybe that will come back soon. I've become involved in art, for instance, which is something I never had done, and that's become a new pastime for me. And I'm a very busy advocate for people living with dementia. I have a lot of responsibilities in that regard. So these are, I have a lot of challenges, but there are a lot of things I can do, and I enjoy it.
Speaking of flying, Brian, do you have something to add to this?
Well, the initial challenge for me was that I knew I would probably lose my job.
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually knew before I saw my neurologist, at least 3 or 4 years before that, because my mother had Alzheimer's and I was her caretaker, and I recognized a lot of my behavior along with hers, but I just didn't want to lose my job. My identity was being an international flight attendant who's been to 57 countries. And that immediately was taken away from me by the airline because I got put on AirSep and you cannot fly on that medication. So they put me on medical leave, and eventually it ended my career. And I grieved for about 3 months, and then I said to get my ass up out of bed and do something. So I have reinvented myself, and I have become an advocate for the Alzheimer's Association and Dementia Alliance. I travel quite a bit. I've spoken at so many conferences, newspaper articles, radio, the whole thing. So that's my calling, and I'm much more happier, I have to say, than I was before.
Good. Mark, your thoughts?
Well, I have lots of challenges that tend to vary day to day. Sometimes within each day, it's like roller coaster. Generally, the ones that stick with me day in and day out is like others, short-term memory, finances. I basically I carry a notebook and a desk calendar everywhere I go in order to keep my day organized. Some of the less pleasant realities with my symptoms is I'm a widower. My wife died back in 2008. And I do have times, particularly in evenings, when, I'll be wondering when she's going to get home, or, walking around the house looking for her and stuff. So, there are trying times, but again, I still want to emphasize that there's still so much that I'm able to do. I still love to get out and take part in my photography hobby and gardening. Had to make some adjustments to continue with those hobbies. So every day has its own set of challenges, but when we approach them with the mindset that we want to live each day well. And that's a common theme out of my mouth that I've learned from the DAA. You know, when you approach each day with, I want to live today well, then you find ways to adjust to the challenges that dementia is going to bring you that day.
Mike.
Yeah, I think that I'll keep it short. First of all, I just wanted to, everybody that knows me knows I have a favorite quote from a favorite movie. It's "Get busy living or get busy dying" in Shawshank Redemption. And I think everybody on this call totally exemplifies that. And I hope people watching this will get to realize that. The struggle that I want to talk about is not so much what I go through every day as far as symptoms, but the struggle of stigma and what people's perception of us are. You know, that we're automatically put in this bottle, like I said, and just automatically thought of as, you know, not being able to do or say or be capable, or every time we want to try to do something, somebody may want to intercede and stuff. Oh, let me do that for you, or just, you know, treat us less than what we are. And I mean, I apologize. I don't remember if that was going to be one of your questions, but I mean, I think stigma is just huge. I mean, we need society in general, and especially people making decisions, to stop thinking of us as less people than we are.
Lori.
For me, I have more challenges right now with personality and emotional changes than anything. Whether it's getting angry, yelling, which is part of why I have my little emotional stability here. This is just a way to help me stay calm, where I just can rubber belly and that's it. But my husband and I live our lives on a lot of strategies. For everything, we're coming up with strategies. How can we handle these challenges that are caused by the dementia? And there are many, and it changes. I think to me, that's one of the hardest things, is it changes. You no sooner think, oh man, I got that one down pat, I can handle that, then poof, okay, now we've got a new challenge to handle. And that makes it difficult. But what we always try to tell other people, and what he lives by, is don't disable me. Don't do things for me. Help me to do them myself. Help me, show me how to do them myself, and help me do it myself. As soon as you start giving things up and saying, oh, I can't do that, and somebody else starts doing them for you, you'll probably never do that again. So it's important to keep pushing and keep trying, even when it's hard. Keep trying to do things so that you do keep some of those things. Otherwise, you will be disabled.
Good point. I'm going to gently nudge us into another direction. We are all here today because we believe in, support, volunteer for, and admire the work that the Dementia Action Alliance is doing. You are all dementia advocates. And I wonder if we could talk a bit about why you've made this choice to be a dementia activist, what it means to you, and particularly, how has the DAA enabled your voice? Brian?
Yeah, I decided early on that I needed to become an advocate, mainly because as I did research, I was alarmed at the statistics when it came to Afro-Americans being diagnosed at twice the rate that the general population is. And I've been to many conferences and meetings and things like that, and I have yet to meet another person who has Alzheimer's, or who at least wants to identify. So I came out basically because I wanted to give a face to Alzheimer's for Afro-Americans. I don't deal with stigmas at all. I could care less. I wear a button that says, "Advocate living with dementia." And that gets a lot of conversations. It helps me to educate people, because people are still shocked. I fly to Brazil twice a month, and people don't believe that I can still fly, but I do. So life is great.
Chuck?
Well, I found out right after I got diagnosed that talking with people about this disease and understanding how quiet it is, people don't normally talk about it. I remember the first time I was asked to talk at a caregivers conference. My mindset was, well, what could I tell them? They're all living it. And after the session was over, there was probably 20 people that came up asking questions. And, I said, well, can't you talk? No, they don't, the person with the dementia doesn't want to talk about it. So I found, that was my passion. And I did it for a little while with another group, and it kind of fell through. And so I was pretty much floundering. I wanted to have a voice, but I didn't have a platform until I was kind of on the coattails of Mr. Mike Belleville. And we had met about a year before I heard about DAA. And DAA has I wouldn't be here right now in this condition without DAA. They allowed me to have a platform to speak. I've been involved in dementia discussions where we answer questions and things and get people involved. I've been honored to be the host of This Dementia Life, where I've interviewed just some incredible people, both living with dementia and those that care about us. And I know that it has helped me, because when I first read up on Alzheimer's, the life expectancy from the time you're diagnosed to the time you die is 4 to 7 years. Well, I'm working on 6 years right now, and I think a mindset has a lot to do with it.
Mark?
I think I first set out looking for information, trying to research all that I could find on dementia, which led me to the Dementia Action Alliance. And with their support, I also discovered community, which community of friends, some face-to-face and many virtually. But I discovered how important that was the more I got involved with DAA. And being involved in the DAA has just led to further discovery of having a voice and why I need to have a voice. And it led to wanting to have a voice because of the stigmas that are out there, and facing them firsthand, because people look at me and they, oh, you're too young to have dementia. And what I looked at a couple of other organizations, and they just weren't the right fit. And DAA I found was a perfect fit. Again, I love the community about the DAA and the all-inclusiveness, where they wrap their arms around anyone with any type of dementia. It's not a specific dementia diagnosis, but any type of dementia. And no regrets. It's been a good fit for the entire time that I've been involved.
And Mark, and we're fun.
And we're fun. Absolutely.
Laurie, I think you had a thought.
I think one of the important things to me about DAA is that it has helped me to stay engaged, not only socially, because we do get to engage socially, but also mentally. And when we first talk about socially, we see each other every week on discussions and in different meetings as these little Hollywood squares. And then one day we have a conference and we all get to meet, and it's like, holy eureka, the joy of actually saying, you're real, you exist. You're not an avatar. So socially, we build such a bond because when we're diagnosed, basically for most of us, the doctor kind of was like, oh, you're only 55? I don't know anybody else 55 with dementia. So you think you're the only person in the world that young that has dementia. And suddenly you find out you're not. So the social engagement is fabulous. But then also the mental engagement. The joy of DAA for me is I can't utilize a lot of my business skills anymore. I was vice president of a bank and I can't add and subtract anymore. That's an issue. But there are still many business skills that I can do. And with DAA, I get to sharpen my skills because I get to use some of those skills, whether it's Excel or Word. The day I left work, I didn't just have to leave them. DAA can always find things for you to do. There's always stuff to be done. So you're using that mental part of your brain and also the education. I've been on other groups where you just socialize and that's good, but DAA is always trying to educate as well, whether it's educating other people, educating us, advocating for education. That's a very important role. I think that's just really awesome that they keep us so active.
Good, thank you. Paul Ann.
I just wanted to add that I think that for me, DAA is different from other organizations, and one of the reasons that I'm involved with DAA is because it has given me a new purpose in life, a new way to channel the energy and the emotions that I used to channel into my career. I now can channel them into my efforts with Dementia Action Alliance. And I think that I really like DAA because they do include the voices of people with dementia in all phases of their organization on the advisory board as well as in their board of directors.
Pauline, you've raised a particular phrase that actually is a policy that DAA upholds and supports and embraces and lives, and that is nothing about us without us, which simply means that's what we are about. Why is that so important to DAA?
It's really important that you have the voices and you have the insight and understanding of people living with the disease, because from the outside it looks different than it does from the inside. And nobody on the outside really can truly understand what it's like to have dementia and what the issues are and what the needs are, as well as somebody who's actually living with the disease.
Mike.
Yeah, the thing about DAA is, and everybody's touched on a lot of it already, I give credit to the Alzheimer's Association. I tell people all the time they saved my life. Obviously not in a physical sense, but in an emotional sense, because when I first started going to support groups is where I first met peers of other people who were living with a diagnosis, and they reminded me that I still have a voice and I can still do things. But I didn't truly find myself until I found DAA. And that was thanks to a good friend, Jeff Borgoff. I want to give a shout out to a few people here. And because Jeff is the one that introduced me to DAA, and Laurie talked about that conference, and that was the first conference, DAA conference. I think it was back in 2017, I'm guessing. And I was a member of the audience. But I got to see and hear people like Paul Ann up on stage, and Laurie and Robert Bowles, who is, I consider my mentor and hero, and Susan, and I apologize, I can't remember her last name, who sadly passed away, and Phyllis Spur from Canada, and probably forgetting other people, but I apologize. But when I became alive. I just woke up and became alive at that conference. And I looked at Cheryl and I said, we found our people. Yeah, we found our family. I still have very deep roots and very close connections with my Alzheimer's Association family, but DAA is my family. They give me, and Pauline said it, the key word is purpose. they give me a reason to get up every day, because it's not just about doing something or being something. It's giving you purpose to contribute, and any way that you want to try to contribute. There's so many different subcommittees you can be a part of. There's arts and tech and well-being and you name it. I mean, if there's something you want to do, I guarantee you DAA can find a place for you to be a part of them.
And to add another step in that direction, Mike, as everyone has said, the motto that DAA has is engage, empower, and enable. And I think each of you have touched on purpose and passion. Can we talk just a little bit about DAA and what makes DAA different from other organizations? Why are we so special?
I think for me, it's because of the people. It's getting to know and get to learn and getting to meet people like Brian LeBlanc and like I said, Robert Bowles and Paul Ann and Laurie and everybody that's a part of it. But the other key piece is the behind the scenes. And the behind the scenes is the executive director, Karen Love, and Jackie Pinkowitz, and you, Sandy, and everybody that's on the board. You all have the same mindset of our voices count. And there's nothing that you want to do without getting our input first, and our respect and our thoughts. And we are just as much DAA as everybody else is. We have as equal voice as people who may not have a diagnosis. And the respect and love that we get from you all is just tremendous.
Terry?
I ditto after Mike. I originally did my speaking and everything, that encouragement from the Alzheimer's Association. But once I ended as being a national there, Diana Black Welder told me about DAA. I came and attended a meeting and I was like, really? And then there was a convention that was going on that she shared me about. And I'm like, dementia people? Everyone has dementia and they have a convention? Really? And so then just going there and seeing everyone, it's almost like everyone is thy brother's keeper of DAA. And they allow you to be you, to use that, to be that face, to be that person to share what it is to be like this. And it's, you have a family. We're all our adoptees in a way. That's how we all figure about it. But it's one of the most greatest things that you can do of being a dementia person that's been diagnosed with it and still live and contribute. So, to Mike.
Mark?
Let's see, what makes DAA so special, why we stand out in my eyes. There are more than a handful organizations out there around the world for dementia and for Alzheimer's. But most of those organizations their mission from my eyes is more focused on the search for a cure. And that is so important. What they do, the money those organizations raise to fund those scientists and the doctors and the research into finding a cure, is ultimately, the goal. But what do we do until then? That's where DAA steps in. DAA, to me, and I explain it this way to people I meet and people I know when they ask me about DAA is, while those other organizations connected with those scientists are working for a cure, DAA in the meantime is helping those of us with dementia and supporting us with dementia on our day-to-day living and maximizing our wellness and our day-to-day living while we all wait for a cure.
Lori.
Along the lines of what I was going to say was DAA concentrates on helping people from the time of diagnosis, not once they're in a wheelchair and they don't know people and their memory is bad and all that other stuff. It's from the time of diagnosis. And it's not just people like Mike, Brian, Chuck, and Pauline that we get together and we know each other so well, and Mark and Terry and Sandy. It's not just those people that make DAA special, although they certainly do, but it's the fact that DAA gives all those people a voice in everything we do. It's the fact that DAA, the advisory board and the board have to approve what DAA does. And on the board is people living with dementia. And that's important because we not only have a voice when we go out and speak, we also have a voice within the organization as to what's going to happen, what we're going to do, what things we think are good, what things we think are bad. That's powerful because there's a lot of organizations out there that unfortunately, you have dementia, okay, stay on just the unsocial or on the social club over there, and we'll make all the decisions about you. And that's not what DAA does. They give us a voice in everything.
Pauline, your thoughts?
I just wanted to add that I think that there is so much misinformation out there about dementia that it's just unbelievable. And one of the things that DAA does is it really addresses that. It provides so much education and about dementia and about what it's really like for people living with dementia and what the issues are. It provides, DAA has written a manual, has co-authored a manual for nursing assisted living facilities that hasn't been published yet. But, they're constantly working on papers and articles and education that is just phenomenal.
So today we're here and it's Giving Tuesday, and we are living at a time in the world that has been like no other. And the COVID-19 crisis and the virus and the impact it has had on us each individually and millions of people around the world has put challenges on small nonprofits like DAA. And we're at a spot, and we're here today not only letting people know about the work that DAA is doing to help improve the lives of people living with dementia, but also to ask for financial support. And just in a word or two, I think we've all talked about how important DAA is to individuals living with dementia. We've touched on the education and the work that we're doing to enhance the skill sets of care providers in community and care facilities situations. Why would you say that? What would you say to somebody, this is why you should support DAA emotionally and financially? Mark?
Because we are an organization unique in the world of dementia, which makes us essential in the world of dementia. And the financial and emotional support of our organization will help us to spread our message and our mission to a wider audience.
Yes. Chuck?
I think one thing is we understand it, and people, when they get this diagnosis, they are in such a dark place because everything is so negative. You feel everything is being taken away from you. What DAA can do is throw these people a lifeline. We didn't have one, and we know what it's like. Our families know what it's like. When you can help somebody and help them through that time and give them a purpose again, you've taken so much sorrow and terror and panic away from that family. Because dementia is not just an individual disease, it's a family disease, and everybody is impacted by it. But if we can contact people that are diagnosed and get them with us and give them hope, give them strength, because talking with these people here and anybody from DAA, it's always something positive. Our meetings, you always feel better when you leave than when you got there. We have smiling faces. We have people that deal with a lot, and they keep a smile on their face. To be able to reach out to families that are just diagnosed to help them through that time and take all of that panic and sorrow and terror away from them and show them there's a light at the end of the tunnel and you can continue to live. That, I think, is one of the best things you can do as an organization.
Mike, well said. Mike.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate that I've had, I don't know how many people have come up to me after hearing one of us speak or myself talk and said, you know, my uncle had dementia, or my grandparent or my parent. I wish I had known about DAA because it would have given them a better life. That kind of sets me back every time I'm fortunate to hear that. There aren't many, if any, other organizations out there that do what DAA does. And it's as sad as it is to see and hear what's going on with this disease, with this COVID virus. You know, I stop and think of, you know, to people, you know, what would you have done differently, you know, with that person while they were still alive? And I would like for people to think the same thing of us. You know, what would you like to do for us while we're still alive, and what we can still do and what we can still contribute? And something as low as a $5 donation can go a long way to help a lot of us continue the work to try to spread the message that we're trying to spread. And that is that you said it a few times already, is it's nothing about us without us. And we would love to have more people join our family.
Lori.
Dementia Action Alliance is trying to make the world a better place for people living with dementia from the beginning all the way through. And with that takes funding. Our Zoom that we're on right now, that's not free. We have to pay for our Zoom accounts. We have to pay for our Dropbox accounts. And that's just the minimal cost of what it takes for all of us to be able to see each other and talk to each other and grow and learn. Why I support DAA and why I give my financial donations to DAA is because they're real and they make a big impact and a big difference for people currently living with dementia, rather than just trying to come up with a cure. They make a difference in our lives every single day.
Yes, thank you. Chuck?
To give you an example of what DAA is capable of, my first speaking engagement was on the East Coast with Lori, and it was a retirement community. And after we talked to them, and there was probably 150 people there, this lady came up and she had tears in her eyes. And she goes, I want to thank you. It's like, well, you're welcome. She said, no, I want to thank you because the first time ever my husband told me that he needed to be there because he has dementia. That is the effect that we can have on people's lives. We change that family's life forever. And that's what we can do.
Okay, we're all saying the same thing, that, you know, DAA is an amazing organization. The board chair, Jackie Pinkwitz, and the executive director, Karen Love, have built this organization through blood, sweat, and tears, and the advice and counsel and energy and knowledge that you all have guided us with. So in wrapping up this conversation, and I'm gonna turn this to Terry first. Let's end with one or two words, and you can have multiple terms if you'd like, that would describe your outlook that now can be attributed, I think, to your involvement in DAA. So one word, what's your outlook, or what's your personality? Terry?
Unhinged. Just do whatever is possible. There's no barriers. Unhinged.
Perfect. Lori?
Excited and motivated.
Mike?
I'm gonna use 3 words that are on a tattoo on my arm, and it says "Live life today."
Perfect. Chuck?
I'm enjoying life, and if it wasn't for DAA, I wouldn't.
Mark?
Ironically enough, alive, not dying.
Brian?
DAA has given me a purpose in life, something to look forward to, something to engage in, something to help educate people. And I would be lost if I didn't have that in my life today.
Pauline?
DAA has given me purpose, a new purpose in life, and so many friends I can't even imagine. And I just think it's an incredible organization, and we really need the funding. There, you know, it's not a large organization. We really do a lot of work.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to say, I don't know if I get a word, but I'm going to take one. My word would be grateful. And I'm grateful for being involved with you all and beside you as we all go down this journey, and it's different for every single person. And I'm grateful to folks that are watching this and hoping that they will be in a position to either support us financially with small gifts or become involved in some way to help move this organization forward. So I just thank you for letting me be here today and be a part of this. It's been fun and it's been insightful, and I applaud all of you for where you are on your journeys, and so thankful and so grateful that you're involved with DAA, because you make DAA what it is. So I thank you all for your time and wish you all well, and we'll see you again at on another Zoom somewhere someday. All right, all the best.